powered by What Caused This. We help organisations get to the heart of their challenges using root cause analysis to identify, analyse and resolve issues with clarity and confidence. On this podcast, we go beyond the symptoms to explore what really drives performance, behaviour and change through honest conversations with people who've lived it. So let's jump in and find out what caused this.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 8. And in this episode, we're joined by the CEO of the British Racing School, Andrew Braithwaite, to explore how a small, high-performing organisation is applying root cause analysis, not just to respond to incidents, but to embed proactive problem solving within a tight-knit team. So I'm your host, George Holman. Welcome, Andrew. For our listeners, it would be great if you could just tell them a bit about yourself and the British Racing School.
Yeah, thank you, George, and thank you for having me on the podcast. The British Racing School, we exist to try and meet the training needs for the sport of horse racing. That's in terms of its people, not the horses. So we're here to attract people into the sport, to give them the training they need to then go on and be successful in the sport. The majority of our training is dedicated towards the stable staff, so those people who look after the racehorses on a day-to-day basis, exercise them, and are there to try and help the racehorse trainers get the best out of the equine athlete. But we do a range of other courses as well, and jockey coaching, etc. So quite a wide range of things, which makes it really interesting for myself and the team here.
That's great. Thank you so much, Andrew. So on the episode today, we're going to touch on 3 overall topics. So the first is making the case for proactive root cause analysis. The second is root cause analysis in a smaller organisation. And the third is a bit around leadership and learning. But before we jump in, for those that have listened regularly, we've built up a bit of a pattern now of starting with an icebreaker question. And for this episode, the icebreaker question to you, Andrew, is: in horse racing, small details decide big outcomes. What's the most unexpected insight you've uncovered by looking one layer deeper than most people would ever think to?
Tough question. Well, I think perhaps just more generally, George, in horse racing, people might not understand the level of detail that the trainers, that the staff working the horses day in, day out go into to try and get the best out of them, and indeed the jockeys on race day, the level of analysis that they do, and the requirement to really go into detail. And I think that horse racing is a very popular sport, but lots of people engage with it in quite a light touch way, going racing and enjoying the day rather than really understanding the sport, perhaps. And I think it would be useful to view jockeys as similar to the Formula One drivers, so everyone would understand that a big part of a Formula One driver's role is to give really detailed feedback to the mechanics and to the team about how the car's performing. And it's exactly the same in horse racing. So the staff the young people that we're training to go on to be staff, and then some of them go on to race riders, jockeys. Your job is to help analyse that equine athlete and to feed back to the other members of the team, be that the farrier, the vets, the physios, the trainers, to say, how's this horse moving? What are the little details? What do they like? What do they dislike? Do they like being in amongst other horses? Do they want to be have plenty of space and be able to see what they're doing? And all those minute details, they do absolutely make a huge difference. So even for us, just informing the people that we train how important that is. It is something that's not well understood, even with people who are coming into the sport. Just how important, really, just going deep and examining everything is important. So
I have to admit, I'm someone who I fit into the demographic you described, right? I enjoy going to horse racing, but it's something I actually don't know a great deal about. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and learning a bit more personally, as well as being able to share with others, Andrew. So jumping in, the first kind of mini topic that we're going to talk about is the case for proactive root cause analysis. It would be great to understand a bit from you around how the BRS first encountered root cause analysis.
Yeah, it was through a connection with Jonathan. It's obviously important to what caused this. And then Jonathan and Ed came to the racing school, ran a session for us, and it was absolutely a proactive session. So I didn't come to it with a problem or a discrete incident or something that had happened or something that had gone wrong. It was very much about trying to help us unpick and understand how we could best meet a sort of proactive goal, which was essentially we set our sort of high level mission, if you like, or what we're all about. We're trying to create world-class riders who had a deep understanding of horses. And by world-class riders, we don't mean the next Ryan Moore or Christophe Soumillon or world-class jockey. We mean someone who's world-class at day in, day out, in the mornings, on the training ground, getting the best out of an equine athlete, the racehorse. So that's obviously, as with all things in life and all the problems that you guys get involved with, multifaceted, quite complex. You're talking about the recruitment, so what individuals are we attracting in and recruiting, how we're training them, how we're supporting them after their initial bit of training, etc., etc., etc. So I think the beauty of taking a root cause analysis approach to that was that it gives you some structure, and it allows you to just explore to their fullest extent each of the different strands that you pick up as you're talking through things. So yeah, it was incredibly important for us. It was useful, and we haven't actually used it in a reactive way. We've only done it.
That's interesting.
In that proactive sense. So that's yeah, and that to date has been my only close experience of root cause analysis. Has been a proactive one. So perhaps unusual, I don't know, but certainly it was very useful.
I would say unusual in a way that we spend a lot of time speaking with clients, potential clients on podcasts, talking around the application of root cause analysis. And I think a myth that maybe we're trying to dispel or move people slightly on from is that root cause analysis is for when things have gone wrong, right? So clearly that is a use case, but a lot of it can also be applied to where you believe you have a forward-looking risk, where something might be on the horizon, trying to get to that level of detail, as you said, Andrew, to understand it more, to be able to respond to it, but also where organisations might have a strategic improvement opportunity. So taking that RCA mindset and methodology and helping you almost to drive towards your business case, making sure that you're landing in the right place with the things as you move forward. And, you know, I think it would be great maybe to understand from you some examples of, you know, you said you worked with John and Ed on something forward-looking, some specific examples of what you were able to uncover.
Yeah, so one example. So we, one of the things which we know, but it's clear and obvious. If you want to be really good at riding a horse, very, very complex thing. Even more complex when you understand, when you're adding in that requirement to have a deep understanding of horses. to be able to communicate well with horses, to be able to understand them, and then communicate that understanding to someone else. It's like learning a language, and so to do it really well and to have a deep understanding of it, you have to spend a lot of time doing it. So one of the things that we knew already, but which came out in the process of doing the root cause analysis, was that we want to keep attracting and attract more young people who've done a lot of riding already, so they've already had a lot of time with horses. So then we start to explore where those individuals are, who are the young people, and horse riding as a young person can and often is quite expensive. So, and one of we've always felt as an organisation was that affluent, aspirational families were perhaps less likely to support their children or young people in their care to come into horse racing, which is historically would be perceived as a sort of groom's role, perhaps not as aspirational as going to university. But actually, Ed and John were able to challenge that and say, but why do you think that? We're well, because we do. Well, fine, but do you have any evidence to support what you're telling us? And the answer is no, we don't really. And so that just allowed us that challenge of root cause analysis. Is that the case, or is that an assumption? It might be a logical one, but it's still an assumption. So can we unpick that? Can we challenge that a bit? Can we do something a bit differently? So we're a bit too early in the process to say for sure, but we've, as a consequence of that, we've done a lot more marketing to pony clubs, to where these young people are who are riding, to some private schools who have equestrian teams. And actually, when we stop to think about it, a job in horse racing these days is it's actually pretty well paid. Not well understood, but the stable staff, the grooms, the people looking after horses day to day, they get a share of the prize money. So if you're working for a very successful trainer, winning prize money both here and abroad, and some of the prize money in Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia, America, France is huge. So you're getting a small share of quite a big number, and also it is international. It's a professional sport. You travel, you're involved in a competitive environment. It's a very attractive proposition, actually. So why are we being nervous about selling it to people that we perceive to be aspirational? So that was a really useful challenge that's come about through doing root cause analysis, rather than in a structured way with you guys, rather than just bringing the senior team within the racing school together to talk about these things and invariably come up with the same or quite similar answers to those we've been coming up with for a number of years. So I think that's one thing that really stands out in sort of like how that going through that chain, really exploring it, challenging it at every point, it has been really useful.
And that's where, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's a great example. And that's where we find it's in those environments that are complex with lots of moving parts that root cause analysis can really help to demystify some of the things that might otherwise be potentially slightly out of reach to be able to come to a decision on. And your point around application of data, I couldn't agree more. Right, looking for things to prove or disprove our theses around what might be causing something. High quality data and evidence is clearly so kind of important and makes such a difference to our level of confidence in the things that we're going to do.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's something that as an organisation we're improving on, and there's a lot more improvement to come. But as a sport as well, it's I referenced Formula One earlier. Lots of other sports are very data driven. So you attract people who like data, and you get more data driven, and you get lots of data. Training racehorses being involved with racehorses, it's difficult to get good data.
Okay.
Trainers are using more heart rate monitors, GPS systems, other things, but there's a huge amount that varies all the time. So,
right.
If you're an elite cyclist training on a watt bike, it is what it is. Like if you put out more watts the next day, you've got better. If you put out less, you've got worse. Like the watt bike's the same, the gym temperature's the same, everything's the same. If you're training a racehorse, the grass it's galloping on is softer or firmer depending on whether it's rained. The rider might have changed. The horse has changed because it's not a static thing. It's a living creature that's has moods, can suffer from illness and injury just the same as a human cat. So everything's changing all the time. It's really difficult to pin down data. So we're not naturally really good at data. I think that feeds through the whole sort of sporting ecosystem in racing, and as a consequence, our data I think is quite poor.
Okay.
So again, actually, the structure that root cause analysis gives you sort of forces you, doesn't it? Doesn't let you away with saying, "Oh, but it's always been like that," or "Well, we know it to be like that." So, well, what's the data behind that? And you're trying to put it in a structure, and then you have a question. It's a very firm question that you can't answer. So it's like, well, actually, in some instances, and this happened with us, in some instances we need to do a bit of work to go away and get the data.
That's
and
right.
Come back with the data, or start collecting the data that we weren't currently collecting, in order that 2, 3, 4 years down the line, we have got some trend data and we can see this is working, this isn't working. That assumption was correct, that one wasn't. And so having that, working with an organisation like yours, working with root cause analysis, I think it hems you in a little bit, forces you to go and get that data, which is again, it's useful.
Okay. So you mentioned the organisation, Andrew. With the British Racing School being a relatively small organisation, could you talk a little bit around the challenge of embedding structured learning tools and insight tools such as root cause analysis into relatively small teams?
I think one of the challenges is you wouldn't have, this cuts across lots of things here. We don't have enough resource, not big enough and the management team's quite small, so it's not going to be someone's job. It's going to be a part of someone's job all the time. So it's how then, if people have got lots of different things, very broad roles, how do you maintain focus on something? Again, we're dealing with young people, we're dealing with horses a day, and there are systems, but we wouldn't be a sort of person-driven organisation, not a systems-driven organisation. So people aren't sort of used to necessarily working with a sort of systems approach. So that's another challenge. And if just the day to day, everyone's incredibly busy, and that's makes it more difficult to implement change and put in things like this. But we kind of try and have sort of points in time and have meetings and discuss it. And again, it's good to have that external input, working with an organisation that's coming in, because that helps stop things drifting. So it's not been straightforward, but useful.
Yeah. And as a leader, Andrew, you mentioned you've got finite resource that are very busy, competing priorities. How do you keep people focused and motivated around, risk prevention, continuous improvement?
Certainly, risk prevention. We have set meetings.
Okay.
It's a high risk. We're we've got young people, we've got racehorses, we've got inexperienced people around, and just riding horses full stop is relatively high risk, clearly. So yeah, we have reporting mechanisms, or that accidents will be logged as you'd expect, and that's reviewed weekly, other meetings monthly, other meetings quarterly. We're a charity, so we're governed by a board of trustees, so we report up to the trustees. And it's a constant process of the senior team and myself just always reminding each other how important that safety element is. Yeah, I think in terms of motivating people to keep trying to improve, I think actually I think it's fairly easy, and we have a lot of. I worked in racing for a period of time, as did three others in the senior team, actually hands on with the horses, working with horses and in yards and trying to win races ultimately. All of our coaches have worked in racing and been in those yards where you're trying to win. And in all professional sport, when it's very clearly competitive, that brings people in who like that. And those are the people who stay in the sports and stay in the racing industry is no different. And in all sport, and racing is absolutely no different. If you are not trying to get better, you will fall down the pecking order because everybody else is trying to get better all of the time. So I think it's just culturally, we're pretty aligned with the sport, and we have lots of people here who are pretty competitive and just want to get better all the time. And so it's not that difficult to motivate them to be like that, because they just are like that,
They have it within them.
Our head of coaching, a guy called Richard Perham, like if we travel, very occasionally have to go to a meeting somewhere, and you'd be going through the airport, or you'd be going down onto the tube, and he's picking which escalator to go on, and he's trying to beat it. Like that's it's just a little bit how we are. So I think that's something actually that in a past life I worked in accountancy practice.
Okay.
And I'd say one of the differences between an accounting firm and an organisation like this is that it'd be much easier here to have that and maintain that culture of continually trying to get better than it would have been in either the accountancy firms I worked in. Because just the mindset of the people who we tend to attract and who tend to work it.
That's really interesting. And I guess from your perspective, having come from a different industry, what lessons or things that exist in the racing industry, specifically around root cause analysis, but it could be more broadly, do you think there are any lessons learned or advice, best practice that other organisations, other industries should maybe take from yours?
I don't know. I mean, that continually wanting to get better would be one for sure. And I think just on that, I think one of the challenges actually here is to stop every once in a while and see how far you've come. Remind people actually that the progress that you have made, because people are tending always to see the challenge, try and improve it, see the problem, trying to improve it, focus on what's not gone well rather than what has gone well. I think one thing on the small organisation versus the large organisation. I was at KPMG for a period of time, which is obviously very, very big. More people employed at KPMG probably than in every racing yard in the country. And I think something, and that we talked about a sort of human approach versus a systems approach. I would say that the racing industry, racing yards, and I hope certainly that the racing school are very good at that. very good at community, very good at human connection.
Yeah.
And that can, not just from my experience at KPMG, but from being an auditor and seeing big organisations, I think that's a challenge. It's not universally the case, but it's a challenge for larger organisations to keep their senior teams connected to the people who are really making a difference or really delivering for their clients. And again, I know from conversations I've had with John, and that's something that root cause analysis also does very well, doesn't it? Of saying, challenging the senior team about their assumptions about those others in their organisations, and actually going to those others who are who are the ones out with the clients doing the audit work, or the guys in the factory, or the guys in the office, wherever might be, and asking them what the solutions might be. And that's very easy in a small organisation, because over the course of a week, I'd interact with almost everybody who's on site here at some point, even if it's just I bump into one of the housekeeping team when I'm making a coffee, but I have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And they say, like, why are we using these small bottles of soap? That's not environmentally friendly. We should use soap dispensers. Good idea. Let's change that. How does that happen in a big organisation? That's a big challenge.
I guess it's almost creating that sense of ownership across the board, right? So, it's not just so-called leaders that have accountability and responsibility. People feel empowered to be able to be curious, to suggest things that they might not traditionally think is their decision or their suggestion to make, but empowering them to feel like they can contribute.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's easier to do in a small organisation. There are some challenges around running a small organisation, of course, but that's much easier to do. And also the leadership team here in a small organisation is visible in a way that, to me as a graduate going into KPMG, like the leadership team at KPMG were invisible, and they might present to you, or they might send videos out, whatever, but they're not visible in a human way that you just observe how they behave. Whereas, and you have to be mindful of it in an organisation like this, because people can observe how the leadership team are behaving and doing, and that clearly sets a tone for good or bad. So you have to be quite conscious of that, I think. But that's an easy way, isn't it, to influence a team of people, is to be with them and act in the way you want them to act. So that would be something I would struggle with, I think, if running a big organisation.
Yeah. Okay. So look, just to recap on the discussion, right? So I think we covered the proactive use of RCA. So not just thinking of it as a backwards looking tool, looking at it forward, looking as an approach. RCA in a small organisation, and where that can present an opportunity and also a challenge, and then a little bit around kind of the role of leadership and being a learning organisation. Andrew, if there was one thing that you wanted viewers and listeners to take away from this episode, what would it be?
I think, again, based on my experience of it, I would just say don't wait.
Okay.
Don't wait for there to be a problem and then use root cause analysis to try and help you solve it. Because you'll have a challenge. Doesn't matter what organisation you're running, that you will have a challenge, won't you? Whether that's growing sales, opening a new branch, opening a division in a different country, whatever your plans are, whatever your targets are to go forward. If you use root cause analysis for that, you see the advantages of it, And then if you do have a challenge later down the line or a problem that you want to use it for again, at least your team understand a little bit about how it works as well. So I think that'd be a double win. So that'd be it. Yeah, I think just don't wait. It's a really useful process to go through. Why wait for there to be a problem before you take advantage of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andrew, where can people who have tuned in find out more about you and the British Racing School?
Well, we're on all the usual social media platforms. The website is vrs.org.uk. We're based in Newmarket, but we serve the whole of the country and have coaches and instructors based all around the country delivering jockey coaching and apprenticeships. So, look us up online. Phone contacts, emails, etc. is all on the website. And if anyone wants to come and see us, we very much enjoy having visitors in Newmarket. So,
Fantastic. Well, look, Andrew, it just leaves me to say thank you so much for taking part and being a guest. I've certainly learned a great deal, and I'm sure people who have tuned in will as well. So thank you, and until next time, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Calls for Thought, powered by What Caused This. If today's conversation made you think differently, visit our website or drop us an email to learn more about uncovering the real causes behind complex challenges. We would also really appreciate if you would subscribe, follow, share, repost and comment. Your engagement really helps. So until next time, keep asking what caused this.